the upshot of all this is that I think that Bitcoin Cash is going to be the global reserve currency one day, right? Bitcoin has always grown exponentially from its beginnings way back when, and I don't see any reason that it's going to stop. Pretty much it just defies the haters every single time.
You're going to love this. Trust me. What you're seeing now is my normal state. This is a Super Saiyan.
There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
It's DeFi, baby. We're coming for you, banks.
Increasing the block size to 32 megabytes right now. What would be the top 5 arguments that would get hurled against me?
Oh, that's a good one.
There are a few that the big blockers got right.
Ching, like all these coins splash into the wallets of all the winners. I love that.
There's a new threat out there. It's crypto.
Positioning, and we
Marcelo,
are
do you want me
live.
to? Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast. Following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency, this is episode number 121, BCH Argentina conference and Hoax collapse featuring Marcelo Fleischer. Today is Saturday, the 13th of July, 2024. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, same as always. And before we just get into it, quick shout out to our flip starter. We still need 6 BCH to get that over the line. It's 3/4 complete. If you're enjoying the show, there's a minimum donation, only about $4 or so. BCH podcast flipstarter.cash. BCH podcast flipstarter.cash. Go there and throw in some sats. Keep the show running. Okay, let's get straight to it. Our guest today is a Bitcoin OG. He's also a BCH podcast OG. He was on episode number 17, which we were just having a look at. That was the 9th of May, 2021. So over 3 years ago. A banger episode, by the way. I highly recommend any listeners to go back and listen to that. Might give you a bit of appreciation of where things are at now versus where they've come from. But welcome to the show, Marcelo from BCH Argentina, and also runs No Hay Almuerzo Gratis, which is a Spanish Bitcoin podcast. I've been listening to quite a bit of it recently, and I've also appeared on it, so you can go and listen to that if you want to learn any Spanish. Anyway, that's all to say, an absolute legend in the scene. Marcelo, welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Fine. I'm so happy to be here again. It's been more than 3 years. I was childless back then. I was talking about this before, and now I have 2 children, so my life is pretty different. Everything is different now. I think your show has grown a lot. Mine too, and I think it's of course in part is due to merit, and also the merit of let's say the community, because the community is growing and the awareness is growing. So we focus on BCH. We are not a BCH podcast, but we focus a lot on BCH just because we are interested in ways to get to a free society. So this is, for us, it's like the most important thing. If you want to get to a free society, you need to address the problem of the state, the power of the state. And what's the source of this power? Well, it's money. If you don't get that, you will never understand why it's so difficult to get out of this cycle. No, we're always on this cycle. The state is bigger and then smaller, and again bigger and again smaller. And people don't get that the state is not just one element of this cycle, one more. It's just, it corrupts like everything else. No, it's a corrupting agent. And many very, very bright people studied this phenomena, and they concluded that yes, well, just society is like an organism. No, it rises and then it gets old and it dies. And I don't think it's true. I think that we can get out of this cycle, and but you have to understand the challenges. So that's why we focus on BCH, because it's like going straight to the root of the problem.
Yes, that's something I've been talking about on the last couple of episodes. I mean, you were telling me before the show that you think you've listened to basically every episode of the show, which is, obviously you've been listening to them as they've come out during that whole period of time. I don't know. Do you have any reflections on how the show has changed, or maybe what you expected when you first started listening versus where it is now? In some ways it's quite different. We have more segments. Jet is on every episode. We have maybe a more variety of guests. When it started, a lot of them was just me talking, solo episode. Now we do that a bit more rarely, but when we do, people tend to like episode 119. People freaking love that when we do it every once in so often. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? How's it been over the last 3 years from your perspective?
Well, first, it's more professional. I mean, Jet's work, it's sometimes perhaps underappreciated. I know how difficult it is to do this alone. I can't do it alone, so I have also people that join me and help me. So that's something that I mean, I enjoy every episode, even since the first one. But it's better to, it's more predictable. I remember the episode that we did back then. We had done some technical problems, and we tried to, so yeah, it can interrupt the flow of the conversation. So that's good. Also, many people are joining just because they see, okay, there's something happening here. I also want to share my story. So, and I want to hear all those stories. I enjoyed very much people from, from ex-BTC maximalists, from people that were just traders, or people that were indifferent, and then they understand the why, so they become like preachers of the cause, and I like to know this process, this story of each one of these guys. So yes, and I take this opportunity to call for donations. I mean, I like it. I pay for it.
Yes. Well, you would probably be the top all-time donator, to the show, I would guess. So, thank you very much. Honestly, on behalf of me and everyone listening to the show, should take that very seriously and have a look into Marcelo's stuff and what he does, because he does so much good work. It's unbelievable.
It's value for value. I like it a lot. I donate a lot.
Well, I'm glad we can keep setting that standard higher. And tell me a bit about No Hay Almuerzo Gratis then. I mean, I came on one episode of that, and I've been listening to quite a bit of that. That's been going also a very long time. What's the impact that you're seeing there locally? Are your listeners mostly from Argentina, or are you getting listeners from other parts of the Spanish-speaking world? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, Spanish-speaking world. In Argentina, we have a very strong BTC maximalist community. Well, we can talk about why, because, well, it doesn't matter. But I think that it gets in the way of the message in many ways. But in Spain, in many other countries, and also, of course, in Argentina, but you would think that Argentina is our biggest. I don't know if it is. There are many people that are too, let's say, involved with the BTC world, and they don't want to. They are perhaps silently coming here and listening and investing, but they don't do it publicly. So it's difficult to say. But yes, we've been growing a lot, and I think again, it has to do with the perception that yes, these guys are serious, and they are not leaving. This is not another company coin that they are promoting. No, they are. So let's hear what they have to say. So we try to participate in debates, and we go where we are invited, and soon we will have I don't know, perhaps you know this guy. He's called Miguel Ancho Bastos. He's an intellectual, but that is, it's very entertaining the way he talks, and he's I think, I don't know if he's a genius, but he read almost everything that you have to. So he was a socialist, and now he's a libertarian, uncapped libertarian. So, and he has these videos that are very engaging, and people love them. And we managed to get him a copy of the book, the Roger book, Hijacking Bitcoin. We wanted to know his opinion. He reads everything. You get him a book, he will read it. Even if he doesn't like it, he will explain why not. And he's very popular with young kids, young people. And I think I understand why. So he thanked us, and he accepted participating next month in No Hay Almuerzo Gratis. And I think that may be, and before and after moment for the show. But forget about that. We've been growing a lot. I mean, it's not that rare to have an episode with more than 1,000 views. And at the beginning, it was like 200, 300. And if you count every platform, it's even more than that. So yes, it's double or triple the viewers. And many people are coming to the forums from the podcast or from this or that debate. So this is starting, as we were talking about before, this is something that you don't notice until it's, everyone is noticing, everyone is trying to get in. So I don't know what's the tipping point, but I think we are getting closer.
Yeah, because I think, I always think of it like truth. Truth has a sound, right? It like rings like a bell, like it kind of can cut through a lot of the background noise. And maybe it starts off quiet, but people can kind of hear it. Something in their mind can kind of just a little bit hear that this is something important, and they might try and ignore it. Or if they have some copes, they might try and put up walls, sound insulation. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. But it's just like a persistent sound, and then eventually they start to kind of move towards it. And because of, like you said, the resilience, the longevity of the coin, it's just the BCH community have been saying the same things literally since 2015. We'll be approaching a decade of just saying the same thing, which was correct then and it's still correct now, but it's taken that long to fight through. Like you said, it's hard when there's all that noise created by other people who didn't get it, or who had some other incentive, or who just got confused and followed the wrong crowd, or they followed the brand, or they followed the liquidity or the hype, or where the action seemed to be. But just over time, we're just finally, those walls are really starting to crumble in the minds of a lot of people in several ways. Firstly, people who weren't interested in Bitcoin, they weren't interested in cryptocurrency, they weren't, whatever. Finally, inflation is constantly going up, right? And they're looking around, they're thinking, what is this? What's happening, right? Like back in the day, it was 2% inflation, 2% inflation, 2% inflation, and just people just swallowed that. But now they're starting to wonder, and not even just in Argentina, but around the world, right? I'm really noticing it as I go different places. That's often how I'll try and explain cryptocurrency to people. I just say, you've seen prices are going up, right? And people nod, and then bam, like you've already got their attention, right? That's making a huge difference.
Yeah. And I think there's a segment of the population that is, that gets uncomfortable, and maybe they say, no, this is bullshit, and they come back. There's something that it's just they need time. So these are our target people. I think most people I mean, the masses will just go where these other guys go. And some of these guys are very influential. Some of these guys are not influential, but they might get influential in the future. You never know. So you have to just keep going. If you have the truth in your side, I mean, you have the most important thing. Because if not, you have to be constantly fighting reality. And that's very discouraging in the long term. And it's not something that you can do just, I mean, you can try, but you will get worn out is the word.
Yes.
So I think that's the reason why we, despite everything, you see this community focused on the important stuff. Just look at the difference. I mean, at some point, you have to notice, okay, this works, this doesn't work. and these guys this works because there's a culture that values this. It's not just spontaneous. No, there are people building this. There are people going through all these difficulties for you to have this working product or whatever.
Yes, and if you're solving problems, the right way, it's like that thing, if you're taking a shortcut is always a long cut in the grand arc of history, right? The long cuts are the shortcuts, and the shortcuts are the long cuts, because if it takes you 1 year but you do it properly, well, you're going to be way ahead of the guy who took 1 week but he only patched it up a little bit, and then a week later it fell apart and he had to patch it up, or then cover that up with some other excuse, or it led them down some wrong path, and whatever, right? I heard recently this saying, truth doesn't rust. And I've thought about that a lot. That's really just captures the essence of, if you're doing the right thing and you're on the right path, then time is all you need to win, because everything else will crumble and corrode around you, right?
Exactly. This is something that will, I mean, truth, exactly. That's perfect. That's perfect. This is universal, it's eternal. So you are on, I mean, you're on the right side. It's everything. I mean, if you are not, you have to change side. But if you're sure, and this is, I mean, you have many ways to understand. Do you hear me? Yes? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
But most people try to see if they are into truth or not, just looking around them. What do they do? What do they say? These guys that I respect. So they are not really doing this work to examine the argument. And people that do, well, these guys are other reason why we have a, I mean, we've been progressing. Yes, we don't always progress, but if we progress, it's due to this kind of people. They don't care about what other people do. I mean, it doesn't mean that sometimes you need other people, but you don't follow just blindly.
Yes. So what do you think about over the last 3 years then, in terms of BCH specifically? And I like the point that you're saying that culture that we have and that we've built up has really come through it being refined over time. But if you think back to 3 years when we first talked in May of 2021, so that was less than 6 months after the eCash split. And, at that time, a common objection that I would hear in crypto otherwise is just, well, BCH would just keep splitting. It would just keep splitting. It would keep splintering. There would just be more and more infighting. It could never work. And so now that I think of it, part of the reason I think people now are really, really starting to listen is because we're maybe getting over that timeline where people can believe, like there was a split in 2017, there was one in 2018, there was one in 2020. So you can see it's about every 18 months, right? Just like how long it takes to build a Lightning network. But once you get over that period of time, maybe once you get to 2 years, things start to be a bit like, okay, is there any signs of disruption? No. At 3 years, it's like, we haven't seen one. It's more than twice as long since the last split. And probably by 4 or 5 years, it will just have become like, it didn't happen. It never happened. The doubters were wrong, right? And the momentum and network effect can keep building. So yeah, I wonder if do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that there's something, this is a contentious issue, the governance issue. I think that when the project is ready, when you do not need governance. And I know that there are different opinions here, but there's a reason why all this happened when it happened. There's a reason why the first attack happened back then, at that time, and not long after that. Because long after that, you have these incentives completely activated, let's say. I don't know if I'm expressing it well, but the incentives that are right there in the white paper are not there, are not working in 2015, 2016. Miners are looking at the new coins, not economic activity. So you can get the miners to follow your fork because they don't care. They have nothing to lose, at least for a couple of years. So it's okay. They don't want to rock the boat. But if you give it time, eventually the miners are extremely interested, exclusively focused on economic activity because this is their income. So at that point, you cannot convince a miner to do what you need, because what you need might kill him economically. So I think that it's very important, the governance structure, let's say, at the beginning. You need to get it right in order to not get easily attacked. But eventually, you know that you are successful when you leave that behind. There's no specific structure. It's everything spontaneous. Everything is doing what they, according to their interests. And that's enough. And that was the original idea. So I think that we have still some way to go, but we are on the right track. Because yes, we need governance, and we need people that are, went through all this, that are forged in fire.
Yes.
But eventually, these guys will, I don't know, they will not be around, they will have problems, they will die, they will find other things to do, I don't know. So we need to, and institutions, human institutions degrade over time. But this is not a human institution in a like a deliberate kind of institution. This is an institution like a spontaneous institution. Like money is a spontaneous institution. You don't need governance for gold, let's say. Gold just is. And we have to aim for that. And I know that maybe you have another opinion,
yes.
But I think this is a stage. We have to respect that we are not on that stage today, but eventually we have to aim for that. If we still need this structures. Okay, that's fine, but we have to go beyond that. And we are on the right track, because what we want is more economic activity on chain, and that will make everything else happen.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I do agree with you that as time goes on, as transactions ramp up and so forth, then the kind of the economic incentives are aligned so that you would then need to be less maybe politically contentious or anything like that. And you're also right that over time people forget the lessons of the past, right? So over time new people are joining the community and they might hear some stories of back in the day, you know, but they didn't experience that themselves. So then the next generation, they also hear those stories, but it's faded. It's the opposite of truth ringing through. History is the opposite. It kind of damps down, it fades over time, right? And so then that's how people get into reinventing the same problem. So I think part of what we're trying to fix here and create, especially with Bitcoin Cash, is we just need to be very conscious of the culture of the coin, and also you can't be backwards looking, you know, things are always going to change and you've always got to adapt to changing times, but at the same time we need to find ways to build sort of respect and traditions into the community such that we can't be roadblocked by those same problems. Although I take your point that at, you know, global scale or whatever, once you have 10 million, 20 million, 100 million people using BCH every single day, it won't be stoppable. There won't be a way for anybody to come in there and
I don't know how many,
because there'll just be too much mass, right?
I don't know how many. I think the tipping point is the moment that miners are getting their income more from economic activity than from new coins. Eventually, yes. I think that will happen, and that is something that not many people are getting. I mean, you do not understand why, because what happened when you try to explain this? People say, okay, but BCH, why BCH is shielded from this? Why can't you be attacked? And you have to say, yes, of course, we can be attacked. But what's the difference? The difference is that we keep the potential. And eventually, if you materialize that potential, you gain escape velocity. Why? Because you are not defended by this guy or that guy, this or that culture. No, you are defended by the guys that will fight to the death for their income. This is they need it, and they will not allow you to, fuck with the code. They will finance the guys that will work for them, because they need more activity. They want more activity. So that's why they could do back then what they did, because miners were happy with inflation, with the new coins. But it will be more clear with every halving that is not sustainable.
Yes, and that's been a huge topic of discussion. We've actually seen this week or the previous week, there was that controversial article that came out from BTC magazine about putting a tax on the hodlers' coins that haven't moved, to recycle them back into the system and fund the miners. And that's really interesting, because you can see in the BCH community, there's been no need, because like you said, we might be a long way away, but the plan hasn't changed. The plan is explode the transaction volumes, and those individual small fees will add up and pay for, because all it is transmission of information. That's what people really need to understand. A Bitcoin transaction is just a small amount of information. So a 0.01%, cent fee just pays for the amount of bandwidth and storage space replicated across a bunch of nodes that it takes to transmit that information. And since it's such a small amount of information, a very small fee can cover it, right? So it all makes sense, and we haven't lost that mission. But on the other side, the BTC side, 3 years ago when we talked about this, they didn't know that they were in shit, but they do now. You can see the panic and the like, what are we doing here, guys, is really starting to set in. All the lies and nonsense they told to themselves has started to catch up. And not only that, they've become aware of it. So this article about, should we tax the coins, some people were in the comments saying, no, this is the stupidest idea, we can't allow this, blah 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 blah. But the point is, that's the same as the 1 megabyte block limit. They have to introduce the idea and seed it in their minds, and then roll it out over 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years. And it's the same as the culture shift in BCH. It happens slowly, person by person by person. New people are coming in, old people are leaving over time. So then that's how you get the ball moving in that direction. And before you know it, they're going to have either inflation, or they're going to have these hodling taxes, because the only other option is to raise the block size limit, which they can't do because that's heresy, and that would collapse the whole scam, right? So we're seeing, that get introduced into the narrative, and they're getting a bit
due to censorship. Not many people know that. I don't know if you perhaps this coin, this altcoin is called Freicoin.
Yes, a Demirage, right?
Yeah. Well, this is what Peter Todd is suggesting. Okay, you don't want inflation or tail emission. Let's do this instead. In this case, he's right. I mean, something you have to do. And
yes,
these guys, I know one guy is from Spain. His name is Jorge Timon. Maybe you know. The other guy is Friedenbach. His last name, I don't remember the first one. They are the creators of this kind of money. And I remember debating back in 2010 or 18 or 11 about Bitcoin. And he used to say, and this is all public, Jorge used to say, no, Bitcoin is, Satoshi is wrong. It's wrong on this. You cannot have this kind of money, because he was under the influence of this economist. He's crackpot. It's not Marxist, but it's similar. His name is Silvio Gesell. He's not that known, but he had this idea back then. So they thought, let's do what Silvio Gesell would do today. Let's make an altcoin according to these ideas. And I think it's great, because now every time I talk about Silvio Gesell in the show, I can say always I don't know why it's so popular in some circles. There's always this guy that says, debate me about Silvio Gesell. No, you don't have to debate. You like Silvio Gesell's ideas, just buy Freicoin. You have that. You like money losing value, not value. Like it's the nominal
tax stuff. Yes.
Yeah. So you have 10 in a couple of months. You have 9 and so on. So you like that? Just buy and use Freicoin. I don't have to debate about that. But the point was that these guys ended up in Blockstream. I don't know if you're familiar with this information.
I didn't know that bit.
Yes. They were one of the first to join Blockstream, and I think they still are, at least Jorge Timon, working in Blockstream. So these guys that used to say, no, Bitcoin is a horrible idea because, deflation is not possible to have a deflationary currency because people will not spend it, all this bullshit, And so these guys ended up working for Blockstream and defending Blockstream. So this is not something that people, they don't know because they are in this bubble. They don't know about this, but nobody should be surprised that these guys are now in favor of demurrage or tail emission, inflation, whatever, anything but making it a usable currency.
Yes. So for the listeners who aren't familiar, I think this is worth just unpacking a bit. This is something we haven't really gone into the show on the show before. So the idea is, so Bitcoin, obviously you have 21 million, right? The inflation goes up to 21 million and then it stops. So you have to pay the miners once that's stopped. So the BCH idea is small fees, but if you have, 10 billion transactions a day, then a 1 cent fee is still plenty of money to pay the miners. And it also makes sense because each individual person transacting doesn't even really notice that it's a small fee, right? But if you don't have that because you've limited your block size or for any other reason, then you need some other way to fund the security of the network. So one idea would be inflation. Instead of stopping at 21 million, you go to 22 million and then 23 million, and what's that? That's basically a fiat currency. And so that's why a lot of the B2C people, they've got in their mind 21 million, we cannot sort of break this, but they're in a trap because at some point they need a solution, right? So that's one idea. But a different idea is what we're mentioning here. It's like the same thing, but implemented a different way, which is called demurrage, which is that basically it's like a leeching tax on your account. So if you had, instead of, there's 21 millions and there still stays 21 million, but if you have 10 Bitcoin, then maybe each year, I don't know, on January 1st or every block, however they did it, a small amount of money of Bitcoins would be automatically essentially taken out of your balance and put back into the coin reward for miners. So then it's like a taxation system, basically. So the inflation is an invisible taxation. You print more money, which devalues the existing money. And demurrage is you just slice off the existing money directly and you put it back around through that way. So it's the same idea both ways, but demurrage is much harder to sell to anybody really, because they're looking at their account and nobody likes their money going down. Nobody likes, I have 10 Bitcoins and then next week I have 9, and you think, what happened? Like, this is bullshit. Like,
this is more honest.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing. It's more honest, and people can see that that's bullcrap. And so now the BTC guys are trapped because they don't want to have inflation, because they know that that's a fiat currency and it's an invisible tax, and they've got that message. But the only other alternative, except for raising the block size, is the demurrage, which is also a tax. It's just a different kind of tax, and now that's being slowly slid into the Overton window of what they're discussing, right?
Yeah, they are realizing that because they were taught that the 21 million limit depends on militant guys that are really really harsh on critics and are really toxic and they defend it. No. The 21 million limit depends on a system of incentives. You lose that, you lose the limit. You lose that, you lose value. So they are learning that the hard way. Many people still make it like they don't recognize there's a problem, or they don't like to recognize there's a problem. When you point it out, they say, yeah, well, it's not a problem because whatever. We
have 100 years. I love that one where they say, we've got until 2140. And you're like, yeah, but that's not how the inflation halves every 4 years. So it gets down to pretty small, pretty quick. Like, yes, there will still be 0.001, Bitcoin or whatever for 100 years. But by that, it's already the inflation is also very, very, very low. But in the next 20 years, definitely, certainly in the next 12, after 3 more halvings,
Yeah, and they like to think that just because these guys because they are not thinking, they are repeating what they hear in some circles. And so it's like they are soothing themselves. Okay, if I repeat this like a mantra, if I repeat this, the problem will go away. It's just these shitcoiners that are throwing food here. Okay, but the problem will not go away. It's, again, are you interested in truth?
It's reality.
Or are you interested in fitting into some group? Because if it's only fitting into some group, well, eventually you will be proven wrong.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so that's one thing aside. I also wanted to ask you about, over the last 3 years is we had BCH 22 in St. Kitts, right? We met in person there, and there was some footage obviously at that, and we did some interviews and so forth. But just for listeners who have either joined the community since then or who are watching this episode in hindsight, I think that might also go down in history as quite an important event in BCH history. I was wondering if you had any reflections on that November in St. Kitts 2022.
Oh, that was great, a great experience. And of course, we all wanted St. Kitts to be the promised land. It didn't happen. It may happen eventually, but it didn't matter at the end, because the point was, okay, to meet with other guys that were into the same goal. And the presentations were great, and the conversations were great. I had my first child, so I didn't go to every event. I was busy, but I really enjoyed it a lot. And I think the work they've done there is great. It's once you try to do something like that, because people like to complain. No, but I tried to buy something here and I couldn't for some reason. Okay, do that in your town. Try it and then complain. Not before. It's easy. I just hate that attitude. You can say, okay, this could be better. You can do better. Okay. But you don't say that if you will not contribute anything, because you don't understand what are the challenges. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about in this conference. We would like to talk not only, of course, we will talk about the split. You cannot forget history. It's we come from there, and it explains a lot. We will talk about the future with what. Future awaits us if we only have CBDCs. Of course, that's part of it. But we want to show the how. We want to show the what's going on here, and then how we are doing it and how we can improve. This is we want it to be the focus. Then things just happen. They have their own dynamic, but this is our idea, to show what we have today, this community that is alive, and then to discuss ideas. Okay, this is where to reflect on mistakes. Also, this went wrong. This not so good. I am a fan of exploring every avenue. And sometimes you think you are not doing that good, but that's because you are too early. So you are building something that many people will need. So now you have a community that is very eager to try new things, but this is not the masses. But what you are building, nobody else is building. Every company coin comes with big promises of this, that, but there's no people doing anything. It's just guys trying to get rich and guys, scamming other guys. It's all the same. So what we are doing, I think almost nobody else is doing. And I pity those guys that are trying to do that with BTC because they don't have the right tool. But eventually I think that they will realize that there's no point in keep trying, I don't know, second layers or BTC in some other way, or custodians, or all these things that they are trying, for example, in El Salvador. Eventually, they will, there's two ways. You recognize, okay, this is a dead end. Let's work with the guys that have the right tools, or they will keep working for the government. And I think because that's what explains a lot. Also, why do these guys what are they doing there? Perhaps they are being paid to be there, and eventually, I think that will die off. people are not using, and of course, they are not using it because that's not the idea. The idea is not that they use a currency that is independent from the state. The idea is to make them more dependent on the state.
Yes, and I think that's something I'm also increasingly aware of, is that the BCH community, and I've said this many times, but I think as time goes on, it's just getting more and more vindicated. We're on our own kind of thing, the rest of crypto is full of all this scamming and grifting. There are some people who are on the sort of this similar page. The Monero community, I always give them a shout out. And maybe also there's some other people, in Dash or in eCash here or there, there's a couple. But really, once it gets down to it, the only serious projects with an actual peer-to-peer economy operating is BCH and probably Monero, right? And that's kind of it. All the rest of it is there in a different reality, and the word is starting to get out. That's why those people have such a hard time. Like, we have a hard time convincing people about BCH and so forth. But at the very least, we're still actually practicing what we preach, The BCH community, you never meet anybody who's into BCH who's like, oh, let me pay back for this beer. Let's use BCH. And you just do it. There's never any like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, I'm into Solana. And they talk all this nonsense. And then you're like, hey, can I pay for this beer? And they're like, what do you mean? like they're just, it's like this other fantasy realm.
Yeah, best case, they have a Binance account or whatever.
Yeah, so I think that's something that we've done an excellent job of preserving, and I think that's also helping us to sort of shine through, and I think that will become more and more obvious over the next few years, like as the cultures of different coins have been diverging over time, and as the scene overall grows, as more people find their way in, every fresh person comes at it from a fresh angle, so they're going to be eventually able to figure out who are the grifters and who is actually living up to what they promised, right?
Yeah, of course. And I like that you always talk about the culture, because that's something that you cannot just copy. It's something that you have to go through. I mean, it's a product of lots of mistakes, lots of pain, lots of struggle. So it's this idea that you can get this institution, a political institution, and put that in some other place, I don't know, some sub-Saharan Africa country, and then you will have from one day to the other Jeffersonian, representative democratic republic, whatever, and it never happens. I mean, it's impossible, because you have a different kind of society, different kind of culture that is adapted to different conditions. So it will not change that way. Maybe they will make it appear that so if you pay enough money for them to do that, but it will work the same way under the hood.
Yes.
So I think this is similar. You have to understand, and you will have to. I think most people will have to suffer to understand why the things we are doing matter. And but suffering is in the way that we always talk about. I mean, what will happen if we do not have options? It's guaranteed. So that's why we have to keep on this track. There's no other option. I mean, and you could say, okay, there are other options. Yeah, but no one is as advanced as us. Nobody is more experienced than us.
Yes, exactly. Like you say, you cannot teach, especially not at scale, let alone one individual, let alone, a whole community, about the importance of certain, problems until they experience it directly. And I think about, there was a basketball coach I saw a clip of who was talking about the way you improve is basically you get a little bit better, then you flatline for a while. You're still getting better, but your skill gets better, then it flatlines. Then you actually get worse, and then you break through on whatever that problem was, and you kind of rapidly rise up to the next level. And that's how it goes, right? If you're not getting at those sticking points, that's when you just got to keep working hard, because it all pays off in a sudden kind of growth later. And I think we're really seeing that as well in the BCH community, that now that we've got the culture is doing well, now that we've got the chip process is doing well, now that we've improved so much in terms of the media, you and I doing the shows, they've been improving over time. The reach has been getting there. Now the apps are starting to come together and it's starting to deliver results, but it took just fighting those battles one thing at a time and getting it right. And now it's all starting to snowball on itself. Yeah, it's really amazing. Okay, I also wanted to ask you a little bit about Javier Milei. Obviously been elected at the end of last year. It was November, I think, right? That he was elected in Argentina, and that has made like huge headlines around the world. The impact of that has been tremendous, I would say, in terms of people. I knew about you guys in Argentina and stuff, but until I got into BCH and got to know you guys there, I didn't know much about Argentina or care about it or have any interest in it. It's not like in the headlines in Australia every day or anything like that. But that I've seen Javier Milei has made that impact on so many people that suddenly Argentina is a country that they're thinking about and interested in and looking at. What's the experience been like there?
Again, Argentina may become in the future, again, a refuge for many people, escaping different forms of tyranny. Let's hope so. I don't know if it will work out, but I think there's a chance. Many people think of Milei as this kind of, this clown, this loud clown that's on TV shouting at people. And yes, that's an aspect. And I think that's why many people voted for him. Not because they think of him as a clown, but because he dared to say many things to the establishment, political establishment, that nobody else dared to say, and in a way that really people felt like identified with that, even if they don't understand the economic arguments, the political arguments, because they are profound. I mean, Milei is a brilliant guy. Many people also don't get this. They just see these clips where he's shouting, and he's a very good debater. He's very, very smart and very bright as an academic also. He wrote many books, and I think people underestimated and still underestimate him. He's not a guy that just got lucky. And I think he's very determined. He will not, he already said that. Also, sorry, this is an important data point.
Yes.
The people that voted for him were mostly very, very young guys. Because like 16 to 22, 75% voted for Milei. So that's something that, and they shouldn't. I mean, if you try to anticipate the results, you will say the opposite. These are very intensely indoctrinated kids, guys, and they voted massively for Milei. So what's happening here? I couldn't. I couldn't anticipate something like this, because I thought maybe we are doomed. Maybe it's working. Maybe we are going the Cuba way or Venezuela. But there's something here that people perhaps they don't have a complete understanding of the problem, but they have that right instinct. People are. You cannot be here and live without being somewhat rebel, because you are always committing some kind of supposed crime according to the state. So everyone is like on the same team in that way. Okay, we are all supposedly on fault. How can we survive, even though we can at any moment we can be caught doing something that is illegal? So there's there's this this culture that emerges from that. But I think that we were on the verge of becoming a different kind of society. Because if so many people leave your country, like in Cuba, you don't have the people to reconstruct. You don't have the people to fight when you have that kind of regime, and the productive people just fly away. Then it's the challenge is much greater. Here we are not at that stage, so I think we have the potential, and also not only with our people, but with people from all over the world. Now we are seeing lots of people from the States that want to live here, or that are already here, people from Russia, people from of course, Venezuela and many other countries. And not just people that want to live here, people that want to invest. So they are watching. The moment they see that Milei's, policies start to work, I think this will be a flood of capital and people. And I don't know if that will happen, but I don't think it's a crazy scenario. It's possible.
This is amazing, because as I'm hearing you talk about this, obviously on theme for the show, but I'm thinking, it's like a little mirror image of BCH itself, right? A little bit like 2018, 2020, a little bit forgotten, a little bit outcast, had a few, good ideas in there, in the history, something in the ancestral memory, but was kind of fragmenting, kind of going in the wrong direction, people leaving it, it's not all quite working. And then there was sort of a change of regime, as it were, with Amori being out, or in the case of Javier Milei getting elected. Then you give it a little while, some logical good ideas get put back in there, but then it takes a little while for those seeds to kind of start to grow. And then at a certain point, everybody realizes, holy crap, because people doubt naturally when they have seen something going in the wrong direction. Even after things have changed, they can't jump on that straight away. They have to see evidence that it's working.
Sorry, you freezed.
Yeah, they have to see evidence that it's working,
can't
right?
See you moving or talking.
Can you hear me at all?
Can you see me?
Yeah.
But not Jeremy.
Okay.
Not Jeremy.
Okay, interesting. Well, yeah, Jeremy, I can see you. Yeah, just fine.
Oh, yeah. So
both.
I talk to you and you say...
I actually have never been in this situation.
You can repeat this.
Here it is.
Maybe.
Here.
Is it fixed now?
Yeah. For me, yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, all right. We'll crack on then.
Yeah, and sorry, and it happened before. I mean, Argentina was perhaps the worst shithole in the whole world in the 19th century. It was horrible. I mean, it was the worst kind of nightmare to live here. It was almost it was a country that was almost vacío, how do you say?
Trash. The 19th century or the 20th century? Do you mean the 1900s or the 1800s?
I mean the
20th century, 1900s.
1800s.
1800s. Okay, yeah. 19th century. Yeah. Just to clarify,
yeah. It was a disaster. And at the end of the 19th century, we had these policies in place that allowed Argentina to become one of the richest countries of the world. So, and it happened very, very fast. It was like, there's a distance here, but like Singapore, for example, it was also, it's unrecognizable. And it was not back, the 50s. And then in like 20 years, it came from nothing to being one of this happened. And it's not a miracle. People like to think this is just a miracle. No, it's not a miracle. If you have the people with the right mindset, if you have the human potential, yes, you change the institution and this so-called miracle happened. Many times, there are many examples. So I think it may happen again, but you need strong leadership at least in this kind of societies. Even people that do not agree, they tend to follow strong leadership. Yes, it happened before. And this guy is the kind of guy that the statists can't deal with. They don't know what to do with him because he's not backing down. He's not afraid, and he speaks his mind. It's not the kind of adversary that they know how to deal with.
Yes, they used to just, it's the same thing as well. It's the same as the BDC guys. They used to shame and slander and bring up the history and emotional manipulating and censorship and all that. But if you're just direct to the point and you just like crash straight through that wall, then suddenly it's like a flimsy defense, if it doesn't work.
He said, "You will have to kill me." So
yeah, and he means it. He's serious.
Yeah.
He's not just saying. A lot of people will say, "Oh, you have to kill me," but he actually means it.
Yeah. No. I'm completely sure that he really means it. And of course, there are lots of challenges and problems, and he's not stupid. He's negotiating, but I think we are going on the right direction.
Yeah, that's really great to hear, and I have a special place in my heart now for Argentina. I've never been there. We'll get to that just shortly, but it has become quietly just one of my favorite little corners of the world because now I have friends there, I know people there, and I'm just so rooting for this whole turnaround with Javier Milei and with BCH starting to spread there. And it's, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, in 10 years, you'll be thinking a lot about what's going on in Argentina. I would have been like, what are you talking about? But it's funny. The world always has a way of surprising you. Argentina's been there the whole time, but it's only just at certain moments in history that certain places or certain people kind of rise up into the discussion. It's very, very amazing to watch. One other thing I wanted to ask you about as well too is we had ABLA go live with at Bliss with the upgrade this year in May. Now that was about 2 months ago, but I've been very surprised, I guess, in how heavily that has been emphasized by the BCH Argentina team. Now, not to say everybody in BCH likes ABLA. Everyone was like, okay, this was a great upgrade. We're really glad. We really got that done. A lot of work went into it and so forth. But I have not seen anybody as enthusiastic about ABLA as the BCH Argentina guys. Do you have any thoughts about that? Why are they so like, this is it, we finally done it? Is it something to do with the history? Or I just hear over and over again, like, if before we had that, we could get captured, we could get derailed, but now it's all fixed and there's much calmer as a result, right?
It's a sensation of relief. I think it's not that these guys think, this is the only solution, this is the perfect solution, but at least it is a solution. It's something that it was not rushed in. It was not just one guy that said, let's do this because I like Amaury's way. No, let's do this because I say so. No, this guy, I don't know who he is, but he was very, very insistent, and he was always arguing for that, and he was always eager to discuss, and he was always listening to. So that attitude, even if you do not agree 100%, you know that this guy is not bluffing. Has not other plans. This is important for him. He's defending this. He's doing the work. I'm not doing that. I think it's enough. I think we should embrace this kind of. it's very difficult because you want change, but you want the kind of change that adds value. And sometimes, you have the other approach, which is 100% or nothing, 100% consensus or nothing. I think
Yes.
The rational thing to do is to see if you have enough, let's call it consensus, 80%, let's say. And then the other 20% is not adamant on something different, it's not really resisting, it's not vocal about some problem that they see, that it can be serious, whatever. And they say, okay, this is not great, but I can live with this. That's okay. But if you have, this can be a criteria. If you have, let's say, 60% saying this is great and 40% saying no, this will be a disaster. Well, let's stop right there and let's look. Let's hear the arguments. Because of course we want change, but we do not want. If there's something that we don't want, it's to fracture the community. So I think we are doing great in that regard.
Yeah, so that's just quick shout out to Bitcoin Cash Autos for anybody. That's who Marcelo was talking about, the developer, the anonymous developer behind, or pseudonymous, I guess, developer behind ABLA, and has, big shout out to them. Done a fantastic job of it was an idea that everybody already wanted, some kind of adjustable block size or whatever, but it did take years of convincing people, working through the numbers, showing the research, taking feedback, update, and just proving, sort of similar to with cash tokens, just how the people are able to get good ideas into BCH, but you have to be very, serious about them. But if you can be serious about them and argue them for a long time in the right way, then the community will listen. And I think that's very healthy to hear. It's something I was talking about on Twitter with some people as well too. There's this idea that consensus doesn't need to be 100%. I totally agree with you. It's really about, like, you can't make everyone happy all the time, but at the same time, you don't want to be fragmenting your network effect. So it's kind of a good enough type of situation. If you get most of the community on board, especially all the people who are most involved and kind of are up to date with what's going on, it's usually very, very clear that there's not anybody with a substantial, because anybody who had a substantial disagreement with merit to it would be able to convince at least a few people enough to throw it into doubt. If it's just a couple of people who have some like personal, cognitive dissonance or disagreement or whatever, it's very easy to say, well, the benefit is going to be better than these people will either come along and just give up on it, or even if they leave BCH, well, the network, the priority of the network has to come before a couple of people who disagree. So you can't stall everything to wait for just these couple of last people. And I think we're striking a really nice balance of that at the moment. I've been very impressed.
Yeah. I think that's the way. And I think everyone kind of understand this. I mean, at the beginning in Argentina, there were a couple of guys that were really against ABLA. Or I don't know if at that moment it had a name or not, but they were against that kind of solution, the adaptive block size increase or decrease or whatever, change. But they were convinced. So yes, it works. It people are like have this PTSD about what happened in BTC. That's not the natural way. That's not what happens usually in a community that is not infiltrated.
Exactly. And that sort of trauma response, it can be very damaging, because it's like any kind of trauma. If you have a child and it's traumatized in like a family setting, and then you try and put it with somebody else who will look after it, it will be unable to handle that for quite a long time, maybe even forever, because it's matching this pattern of what happened before. It's assuming that will be the same thing that will happen again to protect itself, right? And so it's more like, well, even in a different scenario, that it might be completely fine, but it takes a very long time for people to work through that and then get back onto a healthy track, because your personal experience might be one instance of trauma even if 99 out of 100 times it's not that, but your frame of reference is keeping you locked in that.
Many traumatized people, so
yes,
you have to take that into account.
But I think we're getting there, and I think you're right. What do you think about the upgrades sort of on the horizon? The VM limits tweaks and the UTXO commitments have been the two that have been most sort of floated and discussed. Do you have any thoughts on those?
Look, again, as long as they don't fracture the community, I'm all for it. So I'm always hearing arguments from both sides, and I'm not extremely technical, but I understand enough. And if I do not, I ask questions. Fortunately, I have here Leo, who is very knowledgeable about this stuff, and Fernando. So when I have doubts, I talk with them. If I do my own research and that's not enough, I talk with people that have experience and more knowledge than me. And usually I come to the conclusion that yes, there are different solutions with different, how do you say that?
Trade-offs.
Like trade-offs. So I'm okay with that. I don't want more drama, as I think most people don't want that. So I think it's very important to detect who is there just for the drama. Yeah, because there are people that are like that, and if you are not aware of that, if you are, ingenuo, how do you say that? Like
ingenuine, yeah, whatever.
Like you are not really. It's not in your radar. You cannot recognize that. You could lose a lot of time, and you can get exhausted. And so these guys that are looking for trouble, I think it's very important to detect them. Sometimes it's costly because they don't show themselves how they really are from the beginning. But you have to be drastic, because these guys are sometimes you don't even know. Maybe they are traumatized kids, or maybe they have bad intentions. I don't know. I don't care. But I think it's important to let everyone know. Look, this guy is just looking for trouble. Just if you don't believe me, I have this evidence, whatever. But I think that's something that sometimes you need a whole community, because you cannot know everyone. So I like that about this community, that people, for example, in the Flipstarter, when you have a Flipstarter and someone tells you that watch out, because this guy comes from this other community, I don't know, Monero community. I'm not watching every community. So this guy has information that is very valuable for me and for everyone else. Okay, this guy is running from that community. Okay, this guy did not do what he promised to do. Whatever. Okay, I don't want to give him not money nor time. So this is something that we've learned. This is also like a cultural feature.
Yes, exactly, and it's very, very important, and it takes time to build up that trust, and also obviously we should always be looking to amplify. I think everybody in the BCH community should be looking into they're all listed on bitcoincashpodcast.com/recommended. There's the different YouTube channels, there's the Telegram groups, there's Twitter, there's your local scene. If you have local friends or people you've onboarded, it's the more like links you can create in those network of people will slowly over time figure out these are the people who are having good ideas, and like you said, these are the ones who are having bad idea, like because you can have a good actor who has a bad idea, in which case they can either be convinced or it can be reworked with feedback and so forth, like we were talking about. But then there's some people who are just there to create drama, and yeah, we've had very little drama actually. Now you talk about it. Like we had the smart BCH, that was a bit of a disaster. But even then, there was relatively little drama within the community because it was quite clear where the problem was, I think. And then recently we've had the RBTC sort of PSYOP takeover campaign. That was a little bit of drama. But even that was a bit of a tempest in a teacup in the end as well too. So I think we are doing quite well on that front. And it just comes from that system of everybody cooperating. And
also we don't have the problem that we used to have, that everyone is in this forum and you have to be there, and if you are out of that forum, you don't have anyone to talk to. So now it's much better. You have bubbles, but these bubbles are not hermetic bubbles. You have people here, there, watching, like curious people. Like they come and go, so it's not like it used to be. You lose our Bitcoin, okay, our Bitcoin becomes a bubble, but you have many other places to discuss things.
Yes, it's very important that we have all those different platforms and different streams of conversation, because the truth can work its way up through them. Okay, let's touch on the price a little bit. BCH has had a bit of a surge this week up to $373 and 14 cents per 100 megasats, so that's significantly up. One BTC sat will buy 157.6 BCH sats, so we've improved on the ratio, and one Ethereum will buy 845 megasats, so BCH has once again improved on the ratio. Just for fun, I was looking back at this last episode when we did it 3 years ago. Do you want to have a guess how much was BCH 3 years ago in US dollars? Any thoughts?
100?
No, it was 1,345 US dollars. It was crazy. And one BTC could buy only 42.5 BCH.
So it's in the middle of this crazy rush.
Yes, there was actually a big pump, at that time, which helps to boost us up the rankings, and we were number 9 on the coin market cap. But even setting aside, whether the price might be like down now, I think the community is in a much better place, right? And really, the price, it doesn't matter so much. I mean, obviously it's good if it's going up, but
the price went down from there, like if I remember correctly, like less than 100.
Yes, down to, it was like 87, I think was about the lowest. Yeah.
I remember like 70. I don't know if maybe I'm wrong.
Well, maybe you have a sneaky better exchange than I do. But it's been a roller coaster. Do you you've been in the game so long, you'd be the same as me. You just phased out of it, right? But do you see that impacting things? Do you think it's likely that when next time BCH gets on a bit of a price tear, that's really going to help to break us through to everybody else taking a look into it? Or
I think, like it or not, the price matters, but it's not the only thing that matters. You have to admit that most people, I know people that started like users and then became investors. And I know people that started as investors, they became users, or store owners that started accepting and then they became users. So, but the price is something that this change many times has to do with the price, with the big pump. So the pump is just, okay, there's probably something happening here. It's just that. If there's nothing happening there, it will die out. It will be just, I don't know, any other pump from any other company coin, let's say. But when you see that, yes, you go beyond the pump, you see that there's a community, there's a project, there's I think the book Hijacking Bitcoin, it's perfect. It's very very, ¿cómo se dice? Oportuno.
It was opportune. It was at the right time. Yeah.
It's the right time, and maybe now, I don't know. No one knows, but I think maybe the Goxed people are not that stupid. and if you don't need everyone to understand what happened, you don't need everyone to exchange their BTC for BCH, but just a small percentage it's enough, perhaps to feed a big pump, and then you have the attention. And what do you do with that attention? It's just, if it's just a pump, people will exchange that for fiat and then will disappear. But we have something else to offer, and that's why I think price is important. But we have to remind people that if they are only looking at price, look, if it's only for the price, we wouldn't be here. We would. You just say it was more than 1,000, and then I don't know, months after that it was like $70 or $80, and we're still here. So it didn't matter that much to us. But I'm thinking about people watching from the outside. So you can explain many things, but they will, maybe it will stay in their head somewhere.
Back in their mind, yeah.
Back in the, when they see the pump, they say, "Oh wait, this is what Marcelo or Jeremy was
talking about."
Let's try to remember what. So again, they will start this journey. But we don't have control about that, so we shouldn't focus too much. We just recognize it's an element that you cannot ignore.
Yes. Okay, so tell me now about this Argentina conference. I'm thrilled about this because, like I was saying before, I've never been to Argentina, but I'm going to be coming later this year. It's the 12th to the 14th of October, which is a Saturday to a Monday in Buenos Aires. BCH Argentina are obviously hosting it. There's a variety of tickets. You can get $50 ones, which is just sort of for the merch and some of this related stuff. And then there's $300 ticket, the gold ticket to the event, $450 platinum ticket for access and dinner and a poker night and stuff like that. And then there's a $700 diamond ticket, which includes a third day. There's 2 days of the conference and then a third day where you go to a estancia, like a kind of ranch type of countryside thing in Argentina as well too. I'm expecting that to be loads of fun, but I feel spoiled, honestly, because last year we didn't have any conferences in 2023, but this year we've already had Bliss, and now we're going to have BCH Argentina as well too. So just give me the run through of how you came up with this event and what's the game plan here.
Yeah, we were talking about this, and at some point we say, okay, fuck it, let's do it. We talked with the Australia guys first, if they wanted to do that this year. So, okay, it's your turn. And then next year we will go. But they said, no, do it this year and then next year. So 25
in Australia.
In Australia, I think we will have another conference. It's a little bit...
Okay, leaking the info here, mate. You know, this is breaking news.
There's no place that is more, distant from here than Australia, but I've never been there, and I would like to go with all my family. But this year, so we said, okay, so this is our opportunity. Let's do it. Let's show what we have here. That's what we want to do. I want people to see a community, how it's working, people that are, merchants that are selling, and people that are using, and for what they are using that, and, contacting with other people and having discussions. So the first day is this the idea is that even if you are just curious, you can go there. It's the event. You will have this like the confident dissertations, let's say. But if you are more serious into debates and new things in the this new economy, the second day is perhaps better for you. Some people may want to do all. Some people perhaps they want or can do just one part. So that's why we have these packages, and then we have this. You can go just one day or one event. If you want the whole thing, I think I recommend that. It's not that much. We try to make it the cheapest possible. It's if you only want to see what's happening here, get the feeling, you can go the first day, just the first day. But I recommend the whole thing. If you like poker, of course, stay for the poker night, and then the ranch experience, and then stay. Of course, if you came from other continent, stay perhaps for another week. You can get tickets for everything in with BCH. We have like an agency that will sell you tickets and different kind of services for BCH. And of course, we will have also merchants there, and we will have developers and people that are working in different solutions. Because we are trying everything here. We like stores on the street that sell for BCH, but we are also trying different kind of platforms where you can use your BCH, and the BCH gets directly to the shop owner. And then we are also experimenting with prepaid cards here, which are anonymous. They don't bother you like in other places. So we are building, there's a couple of guys building a platform where you can buy these prepaid cards instantly, where they take like 1%, and then you can buy almost anything with BCH. Of course, it's not ideal. But I think it's like a bridge, and also it makes people like used to using BCH, and I think that's fine. Well, there are many people working on this, and many people enthusiastic about this. And sometimes, again, it depends on the price. When the price goes up a lot, more people become interested. When we started doing these meetings, these meetups, we had like 3, 4, 5 guys. And then when the price exploded, we had like more than 100. We didn't know what to do with all these people. These guys were all on the street. I remember. So, and then again, so yeah, price matters, but many people were exposed to BCH that way. So this is a wave, and yes, many people just don't care enough to stay, but many people stay. So it's a community of people that understand, again, the why. Most of them today, this and these people are very eager to try new things, and are the community is. I think the community, it's sometimes it's used in a wrong way. This word, because if you have a community, it's because you have a goal that is common to everyone, but it's not common to every human being. It's common to these people from this community. If your goal is just to get rich quick, well, that's nobody wants to get poor quick. So that's not a community. Yet you have lots of that kind so-called communities. There are not communities. Even if you are I don't know, if you are a monk, you prefer to get money for nothing, and then perhaps, I don't know, you give it to the charities, whatever. You you pay for something that you think that will advance your cause, whatever, but you prefer money than no money. So that's not a community. That's something that we share with. It's like people that breathe. Yes, everyone breathes. It's not a community. That's just humans. Again, so that's why I think we have something special, and that's what we want to show the world.
Do you have, so I don't know whether I've just completely made this up or whether, maybe Ian told me or something, but I had this number in my head, 250 to 400 people is sort of the size of the event you're talking about. Is that right? Or
that's what we, at some point we started to make calculation. Okay, how many, and the people from the community that we know, but it's very difficult to say because many people are from the community, but they are not living in Buenos Aires. There are many people from this is a very big country. So will they be able to come here? Not everyone. So we don't know. It's just an estimate. And we'd like it to be huge. And we are doing everything we can to make it a great event. Of course, we prefer to have more support from ¿cómo se dice? Los sponsors.
The internationals, yeah.
Yeah. We had a big one that had big problems, so I don't know if we are counting on every potential sponsor, but we have 2. That's great. The more the merrier, of course, but it will not change. It will change our economy. I mean, our personal, but not the quality of the event.
Awesome. And so you're saying a lot about the local Argentinian community that you're going to get there and create, sort of facilitate them to obviously meet each other and to build up kind of the local merchant networks and so forth. Tell me a bit about international. I mean, I'm fine. My Spanish is doing, okay at the moment, so I'd be able to get by. But for anybody else who's listening to this show who maybe Spanish is not their strong suit, how would you pitch them to come along and be involved in the event? Are they going to be out of the loop? Are there going to be talks in English? What's the game plan there?
We've got you covered. We hired a service that is doing. Sorry, I have a noise here. That is doing the translation on the fly. If you speak Spanish and there's a guy talking in English, you will listen to him in Spanish and vice versa, so no problem. You will not lose a word. And these are guys that are doing that. It's not some AI news thing that it's not tried. These are guys that are specialized in that kind of events. So it's not just one guy for English to Spanish and one guy. They are, because it's a very hard work. So there are many people like doing that and backing up the other guys. So the idea is for everyone to understand everything and to be able to participate if they want so.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So everybody will get what little like earpieces handed out at the event if you want to, and you can put it into English or Spanish. Okay, exactly. Yeah, that's really cool. Is there going to be an online live stream for people who can't make it and want to watch online?
We want yes. There will be, and some guys. I wanted this guy that made BitGree, that built BitGree, to be here, but he can't come. So maybe we will have him from Spain, and some other guy might be not assisting but participating that way. But the idea is to watch people using Bitcoin as it was supposed to be used. No, we want from the beginning. I mean, you are paying in BCH. You are paying in BCH, and you can buy things in BCH right there, and you can pay for everything in BCH. So similar to what we experience in San Kitts. but perhaps in another scale.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm super hyped about that. One of the most amazing things about doing this podcast, right, has been that I've been able to be on the ground and really experience how things are going in different parts of the world. You know, I've been to Townsville to see what they're doing there. We had Bliss in Ljubljana and how things are going there. We went to St. Kitts, right? Argentina is another one of the major hotspots. The Philippines too. I'll have to find some time to get over to Tacloban, the Paytaka guys, and see where they're at. But the Argentina really does seem to have a lot of on the ground activity. So I'm looking for, and it's always slightly different too as well. Every different country, every different adoption, it catches on in a different way. The team has different slightly different technology that they use, or a different focus in their onboarding. The way they need to pitch it to locals is different, or what, some places it's more about the price. Some places it's more about, volatility is a bigger concern. Some places it's more about, local media and trying to connect with the radio stations and so forth to get them. Some places you already have, like in Slovenia, you already had the merchant solution because Go Crypto have already done a lot of that work on behalf of the BCH community. I'm fascinated to find out. Do you have any predictions for how I might find it relative to like St. Kitts at another scale? That definitely sounds exciting.
No, I mean, there's different kind of problems, different challenges, different solutions. So we have the privilege to work with people that have big stores, and they understand, because it's not, if I will try to get someone to accept BCH, I try to be sure that I or someone else will be buying from this person, at least, I know, once a week or once a month, whatever, but he has to have this experience regularly, because if not, you will lose. So we prefer, at the beginning, we were like a little bit dispersed. And at some point we said, okay, let's see who is really getting BCH for their products. So there are guys that are doing well. Let's focus on them. Let's give them everything they need. Let's give them the software. Let's give them the merchandising, whatever. And so that way you have, I think, you can show the way. If you just have a picture, I accept, and people see that and nobody is using it, I think it's damaging. It's better to not have that sticker. But if you have a place where people are using it, then you have also curious people that want to know what's this? What's the advantage? Why? Okay, so we tried this approach, and so we have some let's say success stories, and this is what we want to show, and we want these guys to talk. Because they have, we are in touch, always in touch with them. Okay, what's the problem? You have this employee, and this employee tomorrow will not be there. You will have another employee. Okay, how do you integrate BCH with your system? And so we are always trying to figure out new ways to come up with solutions. And it's hard work. And we've been doing this for years. So this is something that people don't understand. People that didn't go through that same process do not understand how difficult it is. Sometimes you get this new guy that says, hey, I will, no, just stop. Listen to these other guys that has been doing this for years, because you will not help that way. So I think that's very important, and that's something that we have, that we are way ahead any other community, because, for example, you said Monero. Okay, But if you want to use Monero as peer-to-peer electronic cash, you have problems that are not related to, the merchant or the user. It's a network. I mean, sometimes you cannot spend your coins if you use Monero. You have to wait, and that's not acceptable. You have to be able to use it whenever you need it. So that's something that it's something that you have these other advantages, but if you have these advantages, and also you can use it whenever you want, with minimal fees and all the things we are always explaining, well, you have the whole package. So again, once you start, you can say, well, but I like this coin. Okay, but did you use it? Because if not, if you say no, but people should accept this or that, well, try. Do you have also many different wallets? Because sometimes this wallet is better for this use case and this other wallet. If not, okay, you will fail. So we've been, I think we've been trying many different solutions, and sometimes the solution is tailored for a particular kind of business, because otherwise it will not work. If you say, okay, it's easy, just show the QR code, it will not work, because the guy that is there is new and he doesn't understand. He preferred to say, no, go out, I don't understand this. But if you have it integrated, you can pay, and the guy that is on the other side, he doesn't care if you pay. There are many different payment kind of, how do you say, a system to pay. He doesn't know the difference. He just know that it's easy. He know what he has to do. If that is no different from what he's doing all day, okay, he's working for you. But if you need something special for BCH, you will lose him, unless he's the owner and he's into it. So I think there's that's not easy. But you could say, okay, it's not easy, let's give up. No, it's not easy, let's do it. And then you are the only one that succeeded. So I think we are on the right track if you think it that way.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I can't wait to go and see how these local merchant networks are functioning and talk to people on the ground there, just like I've been doing everywhere else to figure out, what's going on and what's really working. Like you say, everywhere is different. So although I think that's something that we've seen, although maybe not, in Slovenia, like you didn't have that problem at all in a lot of cases, because it was already integrated, like you said, into the merchant terminals. So places that you could spend, either you were just doing like self-checkout at the grocery store, so it doesn't matter if the person is not trained, because the person who wants to use it can fill in that gap. But then, or even for stores that had a person, they could already just find it on their terminal. But if it's a different system where there's a checkout person who doesn't know, like I know that's something that in Townsville they've had a lot, and you have also, needed to find solutions for. Yeah, it's really interesting just how every different place.
The idea is not that in this place, the idea is not that you exchange that for the local currency. The guy wants the BCH and keep the BCH, but you have to make it easy for the employee. So it's when you pay in BCH, it's not integrated in that way, like Go Crypto way. You pay in BCH and it's instantly converted to the local currency. It's you pay in BCH, they get BCH, but the procedure, let's say, the method, it's not really different from other kinds of payments. So that take a lot of work.
Yeah, I can believe it. One thing I realized I didn't ask you about was the speakers and the speeches at the event. Is that still under wraps, or do you have any teasers about the topics or who might be speaking or anything related to that?
Yeah, not everyone is confirmed. That's why we are not publishing. We will be publishing. We are not at this point. We know some of the guys that will speak, but not everyone is confirmed. So we prefer to wait and then publish.
Yes.
So, but there will be many people from here speaking about their experience. That's what we are most interested in, showing. I mean, not people that understand why this is important, but people that, yes, they understand why this is important, but they also are doing it on the ground. And this is something that we've been working for years. I think that we have some insights to share with the world.
Yeah, wow, this sounds incredible. So for people who want to look into it, the website is 2024.bcharg.com, 2024.bcharg.com, where you can get tickets and more info and everything about that. Is there anything else you want to explain about the conference for people who, any last words about that, really?
Whatever doubt you have, you can contact us. This site is very complete. I think the information is there. I would say just come here. You will have a good time. That's for sure. And then I'm eager to meet with so many people that I've been talking, through this social media, and like you, I want to hang out with you. I'm trying my best with the people from BCH Argentina to make it great, and I think it will be. I hope it will be like the moment that most people realize what we have is not common. I mean, this was the original idea, and this is alive, and this is what I want. And people sometimes need this kind of direct engagement to realize we are so used to interacting from a distance, which is great that we can, but sometimes we need this. And I think it might be a boost to the community.
Yes, there's something about seeing it for real. Nothing beats personal experience in terms of being convincing or also just being fun. Like for anybody, who's listening to this, everybody who came to Bliss had a blast. Literally everybody. Nobody had a bad time at Bliss. And I think, so many people would have met and made friends and stuff that they would then, every time they're messaging them afterwards, or, the whole Bitcoin Cash, for any of my listeners who are a bit more on the fringes, or this is just something, okay, I talked to Jeremy about it, or a friend recommended it to me or something like that. If you can possibly at all, try and get to one of these conferences somewhere in your neighborhood, or go out of your way to be there, because I think it will really just change your whole perspective on, like we were saying, okay, theory is important, and we're talking a little bit about the theory, but the rubber does meet the road, and it's very special when you meet all the people that are making it happen on a daily basis, and you see it happening for real. It really brings it home that this is a reality that we can change the world with, right?
Usually move to conferences that end up in nothing. People like to talk about, especially in libertarian circles, people are very eager to talk about their theories and the books, and that's fine, but that doesn't get us anywhere. It's okay. Theory has its place, but the idea is to make it work. So it's funny that so many of these guys are not into real solutions when rubber meets the road. When they have to decide, okay, what will I do with my time? They decide to keep doing what is not working, and it's not I mean, has not been working for hundreds of years. So, okay, you have this opportunity. Just take this opportunity. And to me, it's an obvious choice. I mean, especially when you have kids. Perhaps that, I don't know if that's that important, but to me it is, because at some point you start to think about, I mean, there's a sacrifice there, but you also start to think, you get this energy from thinking about the future. So yes, it's not for everyone, and if you are convinced that you don't want children, don't have children, but if you're not so sure, don't let your cultural environment influence you, because sometimes the cultural environment is wrong, and I think there's the balance is clearly positive, and also you will have more influence if you are sure that you are right, you are correct. You want to have more influence, and you will not have more influence than with your children. So that's how successful cultures win. Also, you show that you care that way. Are you able to make those sacrifices? Do you really want it that much? Okay, so show it. Proof of work, it's also to be
proof of work, genetic proof of work. That's all it is. Genetic proof of work. Here we go. So come to this BCH Argentina conference. There'll be lots of amazing people that you could potentially meet and have children with. So it's there's every base is covered. You know, Argentina for the lads out there. I'm sure there are many lovely Argentinian ladies hanging around. South America does tend to be like that, so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how
and
we
also
get along.
The people are very, very friendly. There are other countries where they see people coming from other places, distant places, and they don't like it that much. People here are almost everyone is always, happy to interact with foreigners. It's just the way people are here. I don't know why.
Well, I don't know. It's because you've got Javier Milei as a president. You've got some good sunshine, You've got BCH adoption. What is there not to be happy about?
I think we are on an upside. We deserve it after, I don't know, like
how many years?
It's century of socialism. We deserve something different.
Yes, life's good. So check that out, 2024.bcharg.com, and get a ticket to come along. I'll be there so you can hang out with me and eat some Argentinian steaks, maybe drink some Argentinian wine. 12th and 14th of October. I'm sure we'll still be talking about it on the show as it gets closer, but yeah, I'm super stoked that we've been able to have two massive conferences in 1 year. It's just the best time, honestly. If you haven't been to one, you should go, because it will probably change your life. It'll make the whole thing very real for you, and you'll get a lot more out of the podcast once you've been to one as well too. I promise you that. Okay, so Argentina is on the upswing. You know where it's not on the upswing? El Salvador. So we've been criticizing the BTC hype about that for a couple of years, but it's now really starting to come apart a bit at the seams. This last week, Nayib Bukele, the dictator there, has introduced just in quotation marks like justice price controls. So he sort of threatened the importers and merchants in El Salvador that they were sort of exploiting the population and so forth, and they have to now conform to these rules that he's added. So agricultural markets were the first ones to be hit. A tomato is mandated at 10 cents, a potato 60 cents, broccoli $1. And of course, this questionable use of economic policy has not only been proven in history many times to end up in dismal failure, but it has also riled up, of course, the BTC people who talk such a big game about free markets and sound money and all that, and they did so much to shill El Salvador, even though all the warning signs were there and everyone warned them. And now, the wheel has turned and they're introducing price controls. So what do you make of this latest development in events there?
Yeah, I think many people from the BTC side are blinded by their investment and they will justify anything. But the truth is, this guy is either stupid or he's ignorant or he's evil. It doesn't matter. The results are the same. You will get suffering from this kind of policies. So consequences can't be avoided. This guy is not. This is not new. This is the kind of thing that they were hiding. If you listen to this guy, and I've been watching, I've been paying attention, this is not new. This is not a small government kind of guy. This is what they show you. This is not a guy that will promote a kind of money that is not, state dependent. So this is a statist. And this is a statist that, yes, they are even worse than him, but he is a statist, and statist gonna do these kind of things. There's no surprise here if you've been paying attention. He's always praising the government intervention, and he thinks that he's so great that government intervention in his hands will be different from other kinds of government interventions. So I don't know. Maybe he's just, cynic about this. Cynic is the word?
Yeah, cynical. He's cynical, yeah.
Cynical about this, but I don't care. Even if it's cynical, the results will be the same. So yes, again, this is something predictable, and many people are entangled with this government also. So they will try to present this as some kind of, I don't know, 3D or 5D chess move. They will try, yes, like, when Craig Wright did this or that, there was always people defending, and you will find, yes, because these guys are paying for this defense, and people will defend them. But can you imagine a guy doing something like this, promoting peer-to-peer electronic cash? You have to be completely deluded to believe that. But yes, people like to think what they think. They think they will benefit from this. So when you don't have a clear goal, and your only goal is to get rich quick, well, you have this kind of guys that will say what you want to hear. And then you will, like this poor guy that is waiting for this big, beautiful city.
The BBC city.
So he bought the whole package. I hope some people can wake up after this, but I doubt, because it's been like we have a culture, they also have a culture, and their culture is hostile to truth. So yes, it's fragile, even if they don't realize.
Yes, so when we talked on episode 119 about the whole BTC hoax unwinding, one of the most interesting things was we got a couple of comments obviously back about it, and one had said, I don't think your portrayal of El Salvador was like totally accurate, and there's some different things that you didn't mention, and that maybe they said yes, there is heavy use of custodial solutions, but that's because it's easier to cash out for fiat, and so people are using that as kind of a transitionary step and so forth. I haven't been to El Salvador, so I don't know one way or another, except just from the reports that I have seen. But we are hopefully going to be able to talk to Nopara, who was also one of the people that we called out in that episode, and get his views and explanation about it in probably a few weeks' time. So you can wait to see for that coming up. But I just thought this was so interesting because the BTC community were, so strong about this whole El Salvador adoption effort, and it's kind of, a contrast, right, with Javier Milei in Argentina and BCH gaining a foothold there. Like, it's like you're saying, and to credit to them, at least in the sense that they are taking action and they're making it happen. It's not theory, of course. Then their theory meets reality, and things start to get a bit messy, but they're making an effort, just like the BCH community is. And I just think such an interesting time in history that we can literally watch these two different communities, El Salvador, Argentina, or different local areas in the world. You can see how all this chat and everybody's grand theories actually playing out in reality, right? Isn't it just fascinating?
Yeah. And who knows? I think what was about to happen in St. Kitts can happen anywhere. And there's just, let's also say that Bukele had the balls to do something that is not what he was supposed to do. So what about other leaders? Maybe there's someone paying attention and thinking, okay, but what about if I choose the right tool? If I do care about my people and I choose the right tool, just announcing that can have a tremendous effect. So this is something that is there, like I see it as low-hanging fruit. If they do the research and they say, okay, let's try this, just suggesting that they might try it, this could change everything like this. So the tools are there, the potential is there. So I don't know what will happen, but I think that, of course, Bukele wouldn't allow real peer-to-peer electronic cash to be used widely in his country. But there are other guys that might be thinking, okay, maybe I lose control of the economy a bit, but what I can gain from this, even I as a state leader, I wouldn't be surprised if someone is thinking now, what if I start to accumulate and then I say, okay, this is my reserve currency. And that, maybe he's not that convinced, but doing that, he will start a reaction that who knows how it ends. So this is something that anyone can do. This was not possible before. I mean, before Bitcoin, you had the best we can hope for was, okay, let's go back to the gold standard. So nothing. Eventually, it will collapse. But now there's this opportunity. So I think, yeah, we cannot be expecting that, like hopeful that this will happen. But truth is, it might happen. It might happen like spontaneously,
overnight. Yeah.
But also it can be like catalyzed by some guy that is forward thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting to note, you know, because we'll see how it plays out. But certainly 3 years ago, when we were talking, that was right before the BTC conference, and it was all the rage, El Salvador, BTC City, etc. I think it was, you know, sort of before that. So I don't know that we would have talked about it on that episode, but it's just interesting to see how 3 years later, you and I would have said this is not going to work, and then yeah, here we are, and it's come to price controls. Okay, we've got something else in the news, a couple of little news items that I've been paying attention to. Bitcoin Cash has ranked up 10 places to number 75 on DeFi Llama's coin market cap equivalent, with now $16 million of total value locked, which is a vast majority any hedge, BCH Bull and Thorchain. Have you been following, obviously, the DeFi stuff going on in BCH, and you just spoke so passionately about all the stuff going on in Argentina with merchants? What do you make of the BCH community step forwards in terms of programmability and getting into the DeFi mix and all that? What's your view there?
Yeah, it's not my thing, but I find it useful. I am a user of BCH Bull. I like it a lot. It's a real solution for real problems. And also I know people that are, you know, building bots to interact.
Like arbitrage, yeah.
Yeah, arbitrage. So yeah, it's working, and who knows? This is another avenue. So I think it's a good example of another success story. And who knows? I think it's growing fast, and I don't know why it shouldn't keep on growing this fast. I like it a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's great to see. Certainly over the next year as well too, now that we've had cash tokens for over a year, but a lot of it was the tooling and these basic sort of proof of concepts. It's the same as everything. Once that really starts to get going and it gets past a critical tipping point of how easy it is and how much developers are involved and so forth, every time I look, there's a little bit more action going on in some of those Telegram groups. It's amazing to see. And I also saw Luke Pryor was talking about the fact that people had been discussing week blocks or changing from 10-minute blocks to 2-minute blocks on Telegram. That was a bit topical this week. And he made the most interesting point about that. I mean, I think there was some pro and against, you know, it was just more like a conceptual idea. But he really nailed it, where he said, look, I'm seeing that as we've improved upon scalability and programmability, speed is now more of a discussion. I thought that was a fascinating insight. You know, a couple of years ago, everybody would be saying, well, what about, you know, these opcodes or different things that we could do? But now that's kind of, a lot of that's been fixed. And then it was scaling. What are we going to do if we get all this traffic? You know, should we have ABLA? Should we raise the block size limit? What do we get? Now that's kind of fixed, right? We're fixing these problems, and every time you fix one, a new one comes up, and it looks like that sort of speed and instant transactions, both for the DeFi stuff and the in-person transacting, are really getting on people's minds. I was fascinated to see that might be the next community debate topic, you know?
Yeah. And this is, again, signs that we are progressing, while others, even when they have more, you know, airtime or they're more in the news, they are stagnating, and important people are noticing. I don't know if you've seen the interview with Peter Thiel, where he's
Yes, and he was saying it's kind of like got a bit captured and it needs to be anonymous, but it's not really serving its purpose, so he's not really bullish on it anymore. Yeah,
and it's going back to the hoax thing. They presented it in many of these platforms, the news platforms, like he is, because at some point he said, yes, maybe I should have bought Bitcoin earlier. So they presented this article where he's saying Bitcoin BTC was captured. Bitcoin BTC is not working. Bitcoin BTC is not that rebel currency. Bitcoin BTC is not what I wanted. And they presented, the title is, I should have bought more Bitcoin. More BTC. So people are they think people are that stupid. I think they think people are more stupid than maybe people that are distracted, that don't care enough. But if you show that to people with regular intelligence, they say, yeah, these guys are lying to me, like openly. So I find it very interesting. Another guy, another one that was making not the news, but at least in Twitter, it was very funny. You know this Giacomo Zucco?
Oh, he blocked me a while ago. So whatever his latest thing is, I didn't see that.
Well, you're not aware of this, but he was using, because of course, BTC doesn't work. So he's using some custodian, I don't know, some of these guys that are in bed with the regulators. And he paid 1.6 BTC, which is, I don't know, like...
Yeah, like $110,000 something. Yeah,
it's a lot
like
of money.
$90,000. Yeah, $100,000. Yeah.
And they are saying your Bitcoins are dirty. So I cannot give them back to you.
I saw that. I didn't realize it was him that got stuck with it. So he's got $100,000 that they won't give back to him because he hadn't done it in the approved way or whatever, right?
Because they are they are dirty, and so this is, you cannot not notice these problems. I mean, this is a consequence, this manifestation of a stagnant technology and a stagnant community. So is this guy, Giacomo Zucco, which is the epitome of the toxic, aggressive maximalist, is this guy recognizing which is the problem? Because they are saying, oh, that's okay, you can have custodians as long as you have enough nodes in enough homes, you can have custodians, no problem. Okay, you have a problem. Are you recognizing that there's a problem? No. The problem is this particular custodian. So they are having this fight in Twitter. It's so funny because also his name is Giacomo Zucco. So he's clearly from Italian descent.
He's Italian, yes.
But Italy... It's not, the state is as intrusive as any other state in Europe. But if people in Italy don't care. It's like here. Most people here descend from Italians. So I think his ancestors, it's like he's a disgrace for his ancestors. He's begging these guys to approve of his transaction. This is what it came to. So I think it's sad, but it's also funny because at some point, these guys will have to confront people that are having those problems. What they do is just they expel them from the community. But now they are having these problems. They cannot use their own network. So they say, no, but this is for a big transaction. Okay, you have this big transaction. Now what? You will cry? You will go to the...
Cry on Twitter.
Cry on Twitter, or go to the justice system and maybe in 10 years get back some devalued dollars. I don't know. So again, I think we are diverging more and more. You will not find a BCH guy having this kind of problem.
Yes, Giacomo Zucco, you're a disgrace to your ancestors. I love it. Things are really hotting up here. So I did. We did that episode 2 ago about the hoax collapse and everything, and it's a great time for it too because you and I, when we talked 3 years ago, we focused a lot on the history and we talked about how everything got to that point and how these things were going to play out and so forth, right? But at that time, the show was much smaller, right? A lot of, I don't know, very few listeners compared to now. This episode will be reaching far more listeners than that show was, right? So anybody can go back and check that we've been saying the same thing. And you're really seeing here I don't know, obviously my advocacy is just one part of it, but you're really starting to see BTC come undone on a lot of fronts. So here's some things that were going down this week. It's kind of slowly then suddenly, the ship's been rickety, but now the water is just coming in like all over the place. So Amir Taki, who's one of the OG Bitcoiners who made a thing called Dark Wallet, he called out Peter Todd for being a government operative and being related with all that, sabotaging the project, as is outlined in Hijacking Bitcoin, and that we've talked about before on this show. And then a bunch of some of these BTC guys started saying, wait, is this true? And they started like looking into it and suddenly being like, some of them again found excuses and whatever, but other ones were like, wait, this can't be right. Wait, is this, what the hell? And then you also had the BTC conference, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. They have announced Donald Trump is going to be speaking there, and then the Bitcoin moderators censored them and said, you can't have this on our subreddit. And then David Bailey, who is the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, he was complaining about getting censored off Bitcoin, which is just the most ironic thing ever. And then there's also been drama this week over Ava Chow, who is one of the Bitcoin core developers, is a transgender, I guess, and this is not new information. This has been known for a while, but somehow this week it became controversial and topical for the BTC community to kind of fight about, with some people kind of saying like, is this the sign of like somebody who we think should be managing our critical like code repository? And then other people saying, well, look, it doesn't really matter. I don't want to get into the, that debate specifically, but I think it's just an example of all the like little cracks are starting to come. There's always drama, don't get me wrong. Every week there's a new thing that is drama. I'm really seeing it now. And I unfollowed a lot of them. I've been following BTC less, but I'm seeing it more because there's more complaints and whinging and things falling apart all over the place, right? It's not just me, right?
No, it's inevitable. It's inevitable because it's broken technology and broken community. So you cannot expect other things. I mean, you can solve this through, a kind of strong dictatorship where just you expel everyone that is not completely on board with whatever the narrative is.
The party line, yes.
Yeah, the party line. But yeah, that's also the adverse effects you cannot avoid. I think let's comment on Amir Taki and Peter Todd. Well, Peter Todd, well known in his circles, he's like, I think he's like the Pope of BTC. Eventually, he will get into BTC, whatever he wants. But Amir Taki it's an interesting guy. I'm not a fan of neither. Amir Taki, now he's saying, I know what happened. I know exactly what happened. I know how you played it. Okay, but if you knew back then, why didn't you stay with the project? I mean, if you were into Bitcoin, okay, Bitcoin was being hijacked. You knew. Why didn't you? I mean, you had a lot of influence back then, and I think this guy is all over the place. He's not focused on anything. He's always doing this or that, but you had this opportunity, gold opportunity, to make a real difference, and I don't know. He went to fight in. Iraq, and then
fight against ISIS or whatever. Yeah.
What came up from there? I mean, is Iraq or the Kurds are better because Amir Taki was there? No, you should stay and fight where you matter the most. But no, he was here and there, and this project and the other project, and always throwing everything, never getting to complete anything. So I think he's not that much better than Peter Todd. If you know what's happening, you should do what Roger Ver did. Yes, it has a cost, but we are the benefit outweighs the cost. At least we hope so.
Yeah, but he has credibility. That was what was so interesting about it, was that him roasting Peter Todd, because he hadn't already been previously excommunicated and labeled and so forth. When he was then bringing this up, that's why it was sticking in the minds of some of these guys, because they were like, you know, if I say it or you say it or somebody else says it, they can just say these shitcoiners, they're just trying to disrupt us. You know, they can write it off. But when it's their own team, sort of in their mind, kind of fighting each other, suddenly they like need to take a fresh look at it and be like, wait, is this true? And then that's when the glimmers of light start to poke through on them, you know?
Yeah. And this is an effect that comes up like a big surprise, because these are communities that are shielded from reality, censorship, and it's years and years and years of censorship propaganda. So it has these effects. Some people I've interviewed in No Almuerzo Gratis, a couple of guys that went from Lazard Eye Maxi to Bcacher, as we say. Yes. And it's very, very interesting. It's like you said, all of a sudden, it's first doubt, first like there's cognitive dissonance, but they stay there, and then all of a sudden, that's it, enough.
They've had enough and they're out. We've got a slide here from the BTC conference. So I mentioned it just before. They announced that Donald Trump is going to be headlining that in Nashville. It's in about a week and a bit. I think it's like the 24th or the 25th of July, something like that. And I'm going to be watching this with incredible interest. We cover it every year on this show, so we will obviously cover it as well this year to see, you know, what news and announcement comes out. Because I feel like this is BTC's last chance. This is their big headliner event every year. They got to come out with something. You know, what are we going to do here, guys? Like, what's the big vision for this year? But they announced, so listen to this list of headliners that they have on their website. The list is from the, you know, most important down: Donald Trump, Russell Brand, Cathie Wood, Michael Saylor, RFK Jr., Edward Snowden, and Bill Miller 4. I don't even know who Bill Miller 4 is, but with the rest of them, these are all high profile people, and they're all politically involved people. But when I looked at this list, I thought there is 0 Bitcoiners on this list. Like, probably of all of them, Edward Snowden, second from the bottom, is the most credible one to have been involved with Bitcoin and be making, you know, that would need to transact in Bitcoin, right? Edward Snowden, I can believe it. The rest of them, this is like, where at the BTC conference anymore, there's no, like, are these guys going to be announcing, guys, we've just shipped this new upgrade onto BTC? No, of course not. None of them are involved. Are they going to be announcing their new initiative to do this or that? Donald Trump, Russell Brand, and Cathie Wood, they're not involved in Bitcoin at all. They might want to be there to say freedom is good, or, you know, build up their own profile, or spread a sort of generic message. But in terms of what's actually happening, they have nothing to do with what's going on.
They are already invested. They are not announcing, yes, I changed my mind. No, these are all people that have been saying you should invest in BTC for years and years. Cathie Woods, well, Michael Saylor. So they were trying to convince everyone to invest. So it's, again, the same thing. Let's try to get to the moon any way we can. Let's put another face here of a guy that says that, yes, BTC will go to $1 trillion, whatever. So maybe we can milk it a little bit more. But it's the same. Sorry, about the trans issue. I think this is my theory. This is because it's not just one developer. I think it's 2 trans
It's apparently
developers.
2, yeah.
2, which is... strange, because, you know,
out of like 5 out of 2 out of 5.
So there's something
it's crazy.
I think maybe this is a manifestation that we are dealing with a big company coin. Big companies have to, you know, enforce these measures. they are forced to do this kind of thing. You should hire this guy because of his color or his not his competence, but his sexual orientation. Maybe this is the explanation. This is just the company going.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know so much about it, because a lot of the pushback was actually, no, they've got to where they have on, like, it's a very niche specific thing. Like, it's very hard to fake competence in terms of shipping like C++ upgrades to, you know, the BTC core software. So I'm
not saying they are incompetent, but if you have, I don't know, 100 competent guys and you choose two trans competent guys, maybe they were not the most competent of all. I don't know. I'm just theorizing.
I don't know. I didn't really want to make a whole, you know, thing about it on this show. If anybody's interested, they can go and get involved in that. I just thought it was just another example of how when this could have been, like I said, at issue at any time in the past, but it's like now that the infighting has started, it's ramping up. You know, when things are going good, nobody has any complaints. But once the water is leaking into the ship, then suddenly somebody finds a new leak, and then suddenly somebody's chiseling a new hole in the side, and then it's getting worse and worse, right?
It's difficult to hide also. Censorship gets you so far.
Exactly. You can't hide it forever. Anyway, we will keep an eye on the Bitcoin conference, the BTC conference, and we'll, you know, be reporting on whatever comes out of that. But because I feel somewhat vindicated that I have been saying, you know, this bubble, it might be kind of, it's hit the top. Like, you cannot go any bigger than that. There are not bigger, they can't next year get some bigger person to come in and shill BTC. It's, you know, it's already peaked. It's already on the way down. Like, Donald Trump is the biggest speaker they've ever had, but he's also going to be the last, you know, biggest speaker they've ever had.
What Peter Thiel observed. This is exactly. Yes. Peter Thiel is not some kid new in the scene. I mean, his thing is to see trends when they are starting, and so he's seeing a trend that is ending, not that is starting.
Exactly. And so I just think, we're unlikely to see any real, you know, I'm just mind blown that literally none of these speakers have anything to do with BTC. It's all a marketing sham. Like, we're going to hear about Jamison Lopp announcing his latest software project, or we're going to hear about even like Blockstream. Even those guys are out of there. It's all just marketing. There's not even a pretense of we're delivering a new technology, we're announcing a new thing, and maybe they will be doing that at the booths or whatever. But these are their big speakers. There's nothing to speak about. Just generic, hey guys, Bitcoin's great, freedom of speech, we're being censored, like just that generic stuff. There's nothing tangible to talk about because they don't have any guests to talk about that. Like, I don't know. I just think it's such a contrast. Like Bliss, it was all like talks that if you're not into Bitcoin, you would be like, what even is all this? Like Morgan, who did some of the camera work, I asked him, you know, what did you think about all that? He said, you know, like there was a couple of those talks, I was sitting there wondering if this is even English. Like, what even is this? I don't understand any of what is being said. And that's because it was, you know, the cutting edge of industry development. This is just nothing. Anyway, we'll see. But my prediction is, that like BTC is, and that's why the price is not skyrocketing and stuff, because it's kind of tapering out. There's no more suckers to pull into this when you can't deliver any actual results. Right, but okay, here's one final angle to this. I know we've done a lot of BTC the last couple of weeks, but this is just really interesting. I couldn't let this one go. We've had some comments from Jeremy Rubin, who was the developer who initially proposed CTV, and he made these Twitter comments this week, so I'm going to read them out. Quote, someone should project manage a timeline roughly as follows: CTV around end of year 2024 or abandon. CSFS, iKey, VCOM/Merc, May 2025. CAT, September 2025. TX sponsors, May 2026. OpZKP/OpGroth16, end of year 2026. Work backwards from each. What needs to happen between now and then for each to occur? There's a specific checklist of must-do items, and the important thing is to parallelize that checklist and do the non-blocking action items like e.g. prepare clients and backports and have good tests and docs. You could literally break down in public everything you intend to do month by month for each of these and then see if you are on track to hit completion. Without methodological project managing, no one is checking in on what needs to be done when for this stuff to actually move forward. End quote. And the most incredible, it took me a while to actually, I watched this and I read this and I immediately thought this is a bit sus, but I had to read it and think on it a little while before I realized what I was reading. This is 4 to 8 years delayed BCH. So he's got this idea of someone, you know, we joke about / someone needs to actually take initiative. He's got that in there at the start. He's got basically a chip process starting to come up, like somebody needs to take accountability. He's got the schedule. Okay, we're going to have an upgrade in May and in November, and BCH obviously has its upgrades in May, but in the past we had May and November. That was what Amori put in, you know, May and November. It's perfect. They want to do OpCat. We've already got OpCat. It literally is these ideas that have been between 4 and 8 years ago in practice, not even in theory, in practice have been in BCH. The theory is starting to get cooking in the BTC community. Now, there's 2 ways that you can explain this. One is that there's a correct way to develop Bitcoin, right? Like a civilization tech tree or a video game tech tree. You know, you learn this skill, then you upgrade to this one, you upgrade to this one, and you upgrade to this one. So maybe we have just done that, and then they are starting to rediscover the same things. The other explanation is that they're starting to copy us, right? Our BCH ideas and so forth is finally getting enough traction and interest that at the edges, that's leaking into somebody talk to somebody and they're thinking, oh, maybe this is a good idea. We should do this. Maybe it's a bit of both. What is happening here, Marcelo? Why are they starting to drift along behind us now, suspiciously?
Good luck with that. I mean, what's the difference? Because you can come to the conclusion that, yeah, this is the way, but there's no one to talk about. Nobody will listen, or they will listen, but just to drain your energy. They will debate you to death, and then you will leave. And then perhaps you will be so angry that you will leave for fiat, not for BCH. But we've been through that. We know that. We tried. That's the only reason why we had a split, because we tried to reason with people, and we realized that there was no one to reason with. So these guys it's like a revolving door. They try and they get tired, and then there's another guy that comes with, you know, idealistic energy and say, no, this is, we should try, I will convince, and again, and there's another guy. And at some point, these guys.
That's a skit. We need to make that. That would be the funniest skit if we did that, like at a hotel lobby, and you had a guy come in with a BTC shirt, like da 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 da, and he like walks in and he goes around a couple of times, and then he walks back out the same side, and then you have somebody else come along, like, you know, da 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 da, like CTV. They could have a little sign, each one, Lightning Network, CTV, like OpCat, like, and they just get in, and then they get spit out the other time, and then you just camera pans across, and there's a guy with like a BCH shirt on the other side of the door who's already through, like looking at him like, what are you fucking doing, mate? Like, that would be a great skit, you know.
Yeah, that means, you know, it's censorship and propaganda works, but it doesn't work forever. So I think we should do what we are doing. It is working. It is working. I mean, you don't need, Satoshi didn't wait for people to say, yeah, this is the right track. He did it. And Gavin Andreessen and the first guys that were working with him, they didn't wait for the world to say, yeah, this is, no, they knew, and they keep on doing that. And eventually the world realized, yes, there's something of value here. There's something important being done here. So these guys eventually, I think some of them Perhaps Paul Stork never, because he's too stubborn to realize this. But other guys are not too patient. And maybe, who knows, maybe some of these guys will start to appear as anonymous developers also, and will start to invest. Then will start to exchange their BTC for BCH. Who knows? But at some point, this will be obvious for almost everyone that matters. I mean, it's obvious now for Peter Thiel. I don't think he's the only extremely rich guy that realized this. So this is serious. And they are showing you, I don't know, Trump and again Saylor, these guys. But this is just like a team. They are not rooting for peer-to-peer electronic cash. They are rooting for a ticker. So it's easy to see for intelligent guys like Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel was very clear about that. And I think on that league, he's not the only one.
All right. Well, quick mention to any of you BTC devs. We know you're listening, guys. We're on to you. We can see it happening. So we know you're listening on the other end of the headphones here. Okay, community comment of the week. You were talking before about having kids and stuff. This one made me smile. This one comes from Duncanomics. He was quoting in the Telegram, he said, quote, "I must be doing something right. Check out my son's notebook." And he attached a little screenshot, which has got Bitcoin Cash underlined and a little Bitcoin Cash B drawn in a circle. Obviously, his son has been getting the vibes that BCH is where the action is and has been, I don't know, doodling it in his like school notebook or whatever. You'd love to see. Are your kids up to this, Marcelo? You've got some competition. You've got to get the notebook drawings. Otherwise, you're clearly not doing a good enough job.
Yeah, they're too young. But yeah, I think this is a taboo. No, you need to involve the next generation, and to have a next generation, you have to have kids. Successful cultures have lots of kids, and this involves you in another way. This gives you, as I said before, a boost of energy. I think people, of course, you cannot generalize here, but eventually with age, you become, if you don't have children that force you to look other ways than your own, I mean, you own, ¿cómo se dice? Like your own problems.
Confront your own demons or something. Yeah, look in the mirror. Yeah,
and you become perhaps a little bit cynical, or you become a little bit like uninterested in other stuff. You start to
get a bit close-minded,
too much. And when you have kids, you have, not everyone does, but even if you are not a good parent, you understand something that someone that is not a parent do not understand, even if you're not the model parent, let's say. So yeah, it makes you better, and I think it's the way to win. I mean, this is no secret. You need new people, and you have a very strong influence in your kids. And if you think you are right, you should you should have. And I'm not saying this from a place of from, I don't know, some guru's thing. I mean, I did everything wrong. I started too late. I think it's important to start early enough to have at least 2 or 3. And I don't think I can get to the 3. Because if not, other people that have other ideas will win. Cultures that have kids are not always right. These people are not always, maybe they are miserable, but they will win. We all be worst because the good people, let's say, do not have kids. So again, it's for you. It's not just for the next generation. It's also for you. It makes you better, and it gives you energy to fight the good fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely something we should be, like you said, it doesn't, sometimes it just comes down to the mathematics, right? Like you can just win over time with just more people, more brain power, more economic resources. It's just inevitable.
It's difficult. I'm not saying it's, I mean, there are sacrifices to be made, but yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. Even if you will have, I mean, less pleasures, less indulgences, but you will have other kind of satisfaction.
Much richer life.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, well, hopefully that's something we can look forward to maybe over the next few years at the BCH conferences. We got to really start making them like family events. Maybe that's a great way for the BCH community to go.
Always talking about a free society. Okay, free society needs free people.
Yes.
You need to make them. And
doesn't cost anything either. It's free. Till later. It starts out free. It gets expensive afterwards. Okay. Meme of the week here. We've got, this is also a nice apropos one because this is something you'd be very familiar with. Peter Schiff has been mentioned on this show less and less these days. He's really just not as relevant as he used to be in the earlier run of the show, but he has been off in Turkey. He's quote tweeted, "I'm in Istanbul and look what I came across. There are some things you just can't escape from." And it's him in front of a billboard with BTC Turk and some kind of advertising Bitcoin's BTC. And he's standing there. He's actually got a huge smile on. He actually apparently looks like he's enjoying himself. But it's just funny to say. It's like you said, the reality, just you cannot avoid it, right? Like he has been railing against Bitcoin for a decade, plus at this point. And he just cannot escape, even with BTC and, kind of failing and stumbling along, it's still just more and more and more people are getting the idea that this is the future. And he can't, it's like it's literally invading his reality, no matter how much he wants to shut it out and go on holiday and not see it. Bitcoin is everywhere. So this is, it's funny at least that he can take this in good humor because at some point he has to capitulate, right? He has to.
Yeah, and also he's less wrong than many BTC guys.
Yes.
But he points at problems that are real, but of course he's too proud to recognize that the problem is BTC, not Bitcoin. He rejected it too early, so he's now into again saying that this is just a bubble, it will burst, and you can say that for centuries. Yeah, it didn't burst, but it will in the future. But I think that, for example, Saylor is much more delusional than this guy.
Yes. Well, anyway, it's just so funny that he's like, this could almost be a Bitcoin advertisement. Like he looks so happy. He doesn't even look. He should have at least faked a frown or something like this. Somebody should troll him and just take this and like put it on billboards around. It's in Connecticut, I think, where he lived. Put it up there and just put like Bitcoin, Peter Schiff approved or something like that. would be hilarious. All right, so we're getting to the end of the show here. Message to the community. You know the drill. What does the BCH community need to hear?
Keep on doing what you're doing. If you are contributing, and just if you don't know exactly what to do, just try to find people that are doing it. This is the way it's working here in Argentina, and please come to the conference. If you are able to come, I think you will have a really good time. and we will learn. We will learn a lot. The idea is also to have debates, especially in day 2, and also lots of fun. We'll play poker, and we have a guy that is used to organizing this kind of events. It's been working for BCH Argentina for many years, and he knows his stuff. I think it will be memorable.
Yes, amazing. Yes, so for anybody who wants to, once again, 2024.bcharg.com to find out more about the conference. I also just want to give a quick shout out that I will be playing the 5th of Gaming tonight at 2 a.m. My time. It's 7 p.m. EST tonight, which is in about, let's see, 10. It's in 4 hours from now. So anybody who's watching the live stream and wants to be involved in that, come check it out. I was actually playing as well last night. There's a little bit of a community starting to get rolling there. It's that same thing, slowly then suddenly, just 5 or 6 guys, and we were playing and having fun. And it was amazing. After I got some BCH sent back to my wallet. That it's working. It's a real app, and it's amazing to see. It gets better every time I look at it. So come check that out if you're interested this week or next week. If you're hearing the podcast at 5thofgaming.com, I love the work David is doing there. All right, supporter appreciation. Got to give a big shout out to our donators. Thank you very much. Our patrons, Ricky and HP. Our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. And our Flipstarter contributors, which could include you. Go to bchpodcastflipstarter.cash. Maja Marcelo, number 1 on the list. Molecular, Erdogan Talk, Emergent Reasons, Peter McCormack, Brian Kanachi, Big V and the Bitcoin Cash Tokyo Gang. Yeah, beer. And anybody else who wants to get on that list, just go and donate half a BCH. I would really appreciate it. And then we can stop shilling it at the start of every episode for a couple episodes. Thanks everybody for watching. You can check out the start guide FAQ links at bitcoincashpodcast.com. If you're new, listen to episode 85. If you're new that you haven't heard episode 17, go and listen to that. Marcelo and I 3 years ago, absolute banger. It was one of the most popular episodes at the time, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of parallels between then and now. You can try Selene Wallet at selene.cash. Final shout out, Marcelo. Who's it going to?
Shout out. No, I didn't think about that. I'm thrilled to be here. I thank you so much. I love what you do.
We'll see you again in 3 years, right? At episode 200 and 230 or something like that.
Perhaps everyone will be in Argentina. But
Exactly. Maybe we'll have all relocated. Okay, Jet's got no shout out. Okay, I've got 2 shout outs, and I guess firstly to you, Marcelo. You've done so much for the show, donating and coming on the show and supporting it, and it's just fantastic. I listen to No Hay Almuerzo Gratis to work on my Spanish and also get the latest banter. I love that. So I'm still getting there. It's pretty fast sometimes, I gotta be honest. Once the conversation gets rolling, the pronunciation also drops off a bit in how clear it is. It's just I'm like, oh, okay.
so you're talking to Ian Blas?
Yes.
Yeah. But he's not the typical Argentine guy.
He's still I shy and whatever, and I'm like, oh gosh.
It's too fast. It's not. It's more. I mean, it's not the experience that you will have with just a random guy. So you are doing like the
hard mode.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be on easy street when I actually show up to Argentina. But yeah, so that's my first shout out. And the second shout out is to everybody in BCH Argentina and all the work you guys are doing there on the conference and stuff. I'm thrilled to be coming by. I love it. Sounds amazing. So I'm really looking forward to it. And today our outro is going to be, usually we have this music and stuff that I've made, but the outro this week we have BCH Guru have dropped another track. So we're going to hit that for the outro, and listeners can enjoy that. I always love to see some BCH music culture growing away. Jet, hit it.
They can't fuck with my gang. Got cash in the left and the right hand. Day one Ponzi, day one scams. They're not like us and we don't like Manda. We achieve more in a short time span. Less is more and it's all by plan. When I draw for the war chest, they have all plans. Of course, we a small team, but we all bang and we ride for the cause. Riding for mine like I'm riding for yours. Keeping it righteous to ride for the applause. And they do it so lies and shy, so it's wartime, more time. Walking with a rifle and sword. Cause we freedom fighters, 007, but don't need no license. They ain't got honors and degrees, just websites. Don't sign up before you read that fine print. Who the fuck ever told these clowns it was over? I roll with the mind of a soldier. Find my composure, poses, try to oppose. Wave sticks like I'm a composer. Slides with the told you won't get spun like a CDJ. Boy, better know like BBK. What I keep in this piece ain't BB. Pellets get low when you see me spray. BBL, you can see their fate. See these L's when you see this face. Cause we upgraded and upstaging, so when they get the next updates, it'll be too late. They ain't got the tech that we got, the techers we got, our intellect to keep pace. We let them rest in peace, we're the best to speak of, no less. They don't really wanna play no games. Who we playing is BCH. Play. They don't really wanna say our name. Who we saying is BCH. Play. Do you wanna keep it real or fake? Who we saying is BCH. Play. We really wanna hear you say. Who we playing is BCH. Play. They don't really wanna play no games. Who we playing is BCH. Play. They don't really wanna say our name. Who we saying is BCH. Play. Do you wanna keep it real or fake? Who we saying is BCH. Play. We really wanna hear you say. Who we playing is BCH. Play. Don't be fooled by the glitz and glamour, lips and chatter. Grifters, tricksters and Instagrammers, they're all phonies, just tricks and scammers. Showing a Tony like it's Montana. No, it's Tony, cause you know we got a heart made of jealous turn green like they hit with gamma. I blitz like 4 when I lift this hammer. BCH when we lift this banner. Now let me explain this game. BCH play, but we ain't playing no games. You can make bets on it, then stake your claims. No middleman, only blockchains, I'm saying, and it's peer to peer. Been here for years, but the joker's smiling from ear to ear. And I text so advanced, it'll pierce your gear. Let it ring to your head like you pierce your ear, and yeah. We the tried and tested, the rest they tried and died by attempting. Don't try for the mess with the try, better check time, otherwise violence the next thing. Never tell the right hand what the left did. We innovate, never try what the rest did. If you wanna try complex math, subtract their cap and lies what you're left with. And that's why we're protective. Liberate Earth, it's a final objective. Need no permission to assign a directive. If they go missing, better find a detective. And we really don't find them impressive. The price is less and the price is expensive. Be the gurus who you find if you're looking for the best way to find. They don't really wanna play no games. Who we playing is BCH. Play. They don't really wanna say our name. Who we saying is BCH. Play. Do you wanna keep it real or fake? Who we saying is BCH. Play. We really wanna hear you say. Who we playing is BCH. Play. They don't really wanna play no games. Who we playing is BCH. Play. They don't really wanna say our name. Who we saying is BCH. Play. Do you wanna keep it real or fake? Who we saying is BCH. Play. We really wanna hear you say. Who we playing is BCH. Play.